Hey guys, just kidding. I'm on live on Facebook as well. Hope it won't let me down. Yeah. It's your boy M.K.S here, back with another video. Later than planned, but I've been spending time with family over Christmas, so it's celebrating Christmas a bit early, but well, it's kind of the Christmas time sort of frame, I guess. When do you celebrate Christmas? I'd love to know. For those who do celebrate Christmas, or for those who don't, I'd be interested to know your thoughts on that. But anyway, this video is not, or these series of videos are not really about Christmas, but I guess Christmas is a good time to sell things if you're in business, for those dyslexics in business. But anyway, I was just thinking as I was waiting for this to upload, or just as I was pressing go live, about how if and when someone invests, or any organization or investor basically invests in something, you generally obviously want a good ROI, return on investment. And of course, it's good for your PR, which leads to ROI, which I suppose is what all investments are about, really, hoping you make more money than you spend, I guess, and as quickly as possible. ASAP or ASAP, whichever way you want to put it. I prefer to say ASAP, but some say ASAP or whatever for some reason. But anyway, I just thought about that as I was pressing go live. But yeah, this is part 3 of. I didn't do my usual intro, like, hey guys, it's your boy M.K.S, and this is part 3 of the case for investing into Dyslexics, like the reason for investing into Dyslexics. I am using the YouTube screen, so if anyone posts on Facebook, as I said before, just to remind anyone, or if you didn't see that earlier video, if anyone posts on Facebook, I won't be able to answer any until after you post, so that I can reply and type up in that post. The other thing is, if you want me to, I can reply in my next video, in part 4, which I hope to make ASAP, maybe as soon as I get up tomorrow, all being well. But yeah, these are pointers number 21 to 30, reasons to invest into Dyslexics. And I guess I was saying I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to come up with 40, but I hope to take on that, well, to continue to take on that challenge, and all being well, I'll think of 40 reasons to invest in Dyslexics without repeating myself too much. But I'd love to know if there's any reasons why you think people, companies, organizations, and even governments, sovereign wealth funds, banks, hedge funds, private equity funds, or whatever, venture capitalists, obviously VCs for short, angel investors, or whoever else should invest into Dyslexics. Maybe there could be like a special Dyslexic version of Shark Tank, and Record the Dragon's Den, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think are the top reasons, perhaps, for investing in Dyslexics, or any of the reasons you can think of. And here goes. These are points number 21 to 30, as I say. So yeah, number 21, the historical successes dyslexic people have had. You can read a list of famous dyslexics. And I know I mentioned there's Made by Dyslexia, the Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creativity, the Dyslexic Advantage, the Child Mind Institute, and Understood. And there are probably many other organizations, as like the International Dyslexia Association here in Britain. There's the BDA, British Dyslexia Association, not the British Doctors or British Dental Association, but anyway, I guess that could be an acronym for them as well, of course. But in Kenya, there's the DOK, the Dyslexia Organization of Kenya. There's similar all around the world. And yeah, it'd be interesting if you know any organizations, maybe organizations local to you or whatever, for those with dyslexia. But yeah, historical successes, as I say, you can read about famous dyslexic success stories. And I did mention briefly, like some of the statistics for dyslexics, like roughly about 20% of British self-made millionaires are apparently dyslexic. I wonder what percentage of billionaires would be. That'd be interesting. interesting if there's some research on that. I suppose it would be very hard to do research on that because there's not many billionaires, and some of them are probably quite reclusive, and also to get interviews with them, they're very busy. I think middle class people chase money, and I think upper class people chase time. I think I could be wrong, but that's I think the general sort of thing. So it's hard probably to get interviews with dyslexic billionaires or any billionaires. But yeah, to see what percentage of billionaires are dyslexic. But I've heard of a few. Hence my idea for a Dyslexic Billionaires Network, which I'd love people to invest in too. But yeah, historical successes, achievements, and that kind of accomplishments. In America, it's 35% of self-made millionaires are dyslexic. Again, I think it'd be interesting to find out what percentage of billionaires in Britain, America, and elsewhere are dyslexic. And they could inspire others. Like people say Richard Branson is a dyslexic billionaire, but he says he's not a billionaire or whatever. And he says he hates the term because it's about creating things. But you can actually inspire a lot of people by being a dyslexic billionaire, show what we could achieve, and they could mentor other people with dyslexia and that kind of thing, show what you can achieve. Although I'd love for us to be philanthropists, but more on that bit later. But yeah, historical successes, it'd be interesting to see what we would achieve and accomplish, whether that's in business, technology, banking, TV programs, TV shows like The A-Team made by dyslexic. It'd be interesting to see what TV shows have been made by dyslexics and how many people involved in TV shows are dyslexic, like actors, actresses, and whatnot. I was thinking there could be like special versions of TV shows for dyslexics. But anyway, moving on, number 22. Whilst we are overrepresented in some ways at the top, as far as I'm aware, like self-made millionaires, or even billionaires, compared to the number we are in the wider population, and there are many success stories, we are also sadly overrepresented at the bottom. Like I think people in prison, it's about 21% are dyslexic. I think about 60% have some sort of learning disability, and again, it's probably similar for self-made millionaires or even billionaires. So it shows that what intervention maybe can be done to, and what it can do to turn the situation around and help us to achieve things. And it'll be interesting what we could achieve in the future. And I'm sure we could provide a good ROI, return on investment, I'll say, and it'll be good for the companies PR perhaps to invest in us. And yeah, as I say, it'd be interesting to see what we could achieve in the future if people invest in us. And I suppose investment could mean financial, and that's what I've been thinking about mainly, but it could be investing by spending time to teach, train, mentor, I suppose that's the same sort of thing, take under their wing and whatnot. So dyslexics to mentor each other and that kind of thing, or whatever. Yeah, it could be investing by encouraging or whatever, and believing in and whatnot, and that kind of thing. But yeah, seeing different ways to invest. I suppose they're the only ones I can think of on the top of my head, like either financially investing or teaching, training, developing, growing, and that kind of thing, encouraging, nurturing, and that kind of thing. Number 23, it could be a form of charity, like it could be something to feel good about, or again, it could be good for PR. Maybe there could be tax exemptions for investing in dyslexics. Governments might want to do that for 2 or 3 reasons, I guess. I mean, it probably looks better for them to help dyslexics. It also is something that could cut crime, which I talked about in parts 1 and 2, I think. I'm sure I mentioned it in both parts 1 and 2. And it is something that, could change society for the better, I'm sure. So governments could give tax incentives for investing into and supporting dyslexics, whether that's by dyslexics themselves. I'd love for us to be tax exempt, given the struggles we have. But at the same time, giving tax incentives for investing into our community, into dyslexics. Different governments might want to do that as a potential idea. Obviously, these are all suggestions which people may discard or take on board or whatever. I mean, they might take them on board, but not completely follow them or whatever. But yeah, so also I'd love for us to not have to rely on benefits or stealing or any law breaking. So I'd love for us to break even with the taxpayer. Oh yeah, and also I'd love for us to be philanthropists. So in the long term, ASAP, I'd love for us to give our money away. Maybe a dyslexic person who doesn't believe in themselves can do well and earn lots of money and then be like, I don't need a lot of this money, so I know I can do it, and I feel good that I can do it. But I feel better mentoring and teaching and training people. That would be up to the individual, and I suppose what percentage they give to charity is up to them. It might be 10%, it might be 20%, it might be 50%, it might be 0% if they don't want to, or it might be 90% if they feel comfortable doing that. But it would be their personal choice, of course. But I'd love for us to support each other and to try and tackle poverty. Ideally, as a side note, I say a side note because it's not really dyslexia related as such, but certainly with dyslexics, I'd love to help with dyslexics to tackle poverty and overcome poverty. But also, I would love for everyone to have a place to live, shelter, housing, enough to drink, enough to eat, and that kind of thing. But moving on, number 24, again, different countries might want to do it in different ways. Some might want to offer tax incentives. Some might want to offer mentorship programs or networks for dyslexics or whatever, like Dubai could host dyslexia-friendly networks or whatever, as I said before. And some might want to research dyslexia more to see what positives as well as negatives there are, to see what we can contribute to their country. As I say, a good ROI, return on investment. And also especially on special days for dyslexics, like in October, Dyslexic Awareness Month, and I think the 8th of October is International Dyslexic Awareness Day. So on terms like that, I think like day because it's 24, the number 24, so 24 hours in a day. Number 25, me personally, I would love for us, I'm thinking of, obviously the theme of these videos is like for others to invest in us, and I forgot to say point number 23, as I mentioned before, I'd love for like Cascade Investments, the holding company of Bill Gates, Bridgewater. I don't know if Ray Dalio is still the CEO of that, but it was his company. I don't know if it still is, but and even like Schwab Corp, which is owned by Dyslexic himself, and many others, Dyslexic or otherwise, could invest into Dyslexic. So I look for as many private equity funds, hedge funds, banks, businesses, and anyone who invests really sovereign wealth funds and whatnot to invest into Dyslexics. I'd love to encourage as many of them as possible to invest into Dyslexics, just like with the Tanford and Celtic and that kind of thing. But yeah, also I'd love to see what we can contribute to republics, to the world's republics, as I'm favourable towards republics, although it's a bit of a dilemma when some dyslexics are royals or whatever. Number 26, also as an anti-imperialist, I'd love to support countries that were colonised, and I'd love to encourage as many dyslexics as possible to see what we can contribute to countries that were colonised, including to help dyslexics in those countries through mentorship, teaching, training, investments. Like we could perhaps fundraise for entrepreneurs with dyslexia in Malaysia, India, Indonesia, South Africa, Singapore, Kenya, Ethiopia, maybe even, and all over Africa and Asia, Latin America, developing nations, and that kind of thing. And again, especially countries that were colonized and their communities. I'll drink to that, as I say. So yeah, I'd love to, as an anti-imperialist, I'd love to especially anti-imperialist, that is, I'd love to especially support dyslexics in developing nations, and I suppose I could have said in point number 24 symbolically, but I would love for, like Made by Dyslexia, have this global dyslexia sort of thing, where they have been to different countries. And I've mentioned that in the past, but like they've been to like I think Sweden, or I'm pretty sure it was Sweden and New York, obviously in America, and one or two other places, I think in London, for instance. But I would love for all the possible dyslexia organisations, which I mentioned before, like Made by Dyslexia, the Yale Centre for Dyslexia and Creativity, Dyslexic Advantage, the Childmind Institute, understood and many others to go to. Maybe they could teach and train people across Africa, like the dyslexic organisations there, and share information with them. But they could also have events in Kenya or places like that to show politicians in those countries like what we could do to improve their countries with our out-of-the-box thinking and creativity and ideas and that kind of thing, imaginations and whatnot. So with our talents and our dyslexic thinking, what we could do to benefit Malaysia, India, Indonesia, South Africa, Singapore, and the rest of Africa and Asia and Latin America and those kind of places. Ireland is another one because they were colonized. Moving on, number 27, as I say, I hope we provide a good ROI. I think of rewards when I think of point number 27, so I would have mentioned we could have like a walk and Hall of Fame. We could list on websites, on YouTube and TikTok, social media generally, and wherever else possible, and offer awards, have award ceremonies for those who contribute to dyslexics, and like Dyslexic Entrepreneur of the Year and that kind of thing, especially, and also Young Dyslexic Entrepreneur of the Year. So to encourage dyslexics, but also to see how different organisations can support them. A bit like, I suppose, here in Britain, there's the Black British Business Awards, and they could be similar for dyslexics, and that hopefully would be international, and different dyslexic organisations internationally could network together. I'd love to think if we network together internationally, we could buy things in bulk and get things cheaper. And I think there's a reward in feeling better about helping others as well. And yeah, I hope we can provide a good ROI. It could be good for PR. Maybe there could be tax exemptions, perhaps, or at least tax cuts for investing in us by non-dyslexics and dyslexics alike. I'd love for us to be tax exempt, and hopefully the reward will be showing that we do have strengths that can contribute through our talents and dyslexic thinking to benefit those countries. So Malaysia, India, Indonesia, South Africa, Singapore, and the rest of Africa and Asia and Latin America could see what we could contribute with our dyslexic talents and thinking skills, talents, whatever, our dyslexic thinking and thoughts and whatnot. Number 28, to turn our situation around, as I said before. Many dyslexics unfortunately end up unemployed, underemployed, or even in prison, or between jobs, unable to keep jobs, as I say, underemployed, or in different difficult situations, ending up in crimes, criminality, and things like that. And investing in us could perhaps turn the situation around for many people. So that'll be beneficial to all of society, dyslexic and otherwise, ideally, I hope. My main dream, as I say. And number 29, I hope that they will invest in a diverse range of people with dyslexia, mixed race, Black, Asian, and different people from different backgrounds with dyslexic, much like myself. And number 30, I'm running out of ideas, but I'd love to know what you think. And I've been defeated by time once again, but anyway, I'd love to know what you think, and I'll try and remember to share the link for. I'm trying to work out. I think I'll share the value of dyslexia report for this one Made by Dyslexia, and for part 4, or maybe I'll share both for part 3 and 4. I was going to share one for each of them, but I think I'll share both of those links for each of these videos, at least on Facebook, if not on YouTube as well. And I'm out, and peace and love. Hope you have a good Christmas wherever you are.